Welcome to another edition of Our City. A few things going around the city of Elizabeth this week. Tomorrow, Tuesday, on January 20th, I'm going to attend the State of the Union address by President Barack Obama as a guest of Senator Robert Menendez. And then I'll be attending some meetings with the U.S. Conference of Mayors in Washington, D.C. This show is being taped on Monday, and earlier in the day was the celebration of the Martin Luther King annual event held at Our Lady of Fatima Church, with an eventual procession over to the monument in Scott Park. On Saturday of this week at 5 o'clock, I'm going to attend the Elizabeth Coalition to House the Homeless. It's the 21st annual basketball classic tournament. This event will take place at Elizabeth High School, the Dunn Sports Center. It's scheduled to begin at 3:45 with the Battle of the Badges, which is the Elizabeth Police Department against the Elizabeth Fire Department. For more information, call 355-2600, extension 201. It will also be the subject of the beginning of this evening's show. So if you need more information concerning this event or any other events, please call our Public Information Office at 820-4124. And please stay with us after this message.
Sometimes you learn by helping others learn. Kane University.
Welcome back to Our City, where I'm pleased to be joined by Miss Linda Flores-Tober, who is the Executive Director of the Coalition to House the Homeless. Linda, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
You've been on here before?
I have been for the basketball game before.
Right. How long are you at the Coalition?
I am completing my 25th year.
25th. So you started in 8th grade, right?
Wouldn't I love to say that? But no, I started in 1990, so it'll be on July 3rd.
And did you always have a passion for working in this type of industry or this type of commitment in a social service organization?
I always did. I've worked with the elderly, and then I crossed over to work with the homeless, and dedicated to working with the most vulnerable people in our society. That's my passion.
You're born and raised in Elizabeth too, right?
No, actually I grew up down the shore, but I've lived here for so long I feel like it.
Okay.
So,
well, then we're glad to claim
by adoption.
By adoption, right. So tell us about the Coalition to House the Homeless. It's been around a little longer than 25 years, and you've done a lot of work and a lot of service. Tell us how it got started, what's your knowledge of the history of it.
Okay, the Elizabeth Coalition to House the Homeless started in 1981. We've been around for 34 years. And we started really as activists to address the need for shelter in Elizabeth, but you can't really advocate for the homeless unless you're helping them, because it's hard to ask them to pick up a sign if they have nowhere to sleep that night and no food. So we began to do social services, helping people get into shelter, helping them find permanent housing, and then, then grew our programs. We started transitional housing for the working homeless because we found out that people who are working can't get into the shelter system, or they can only get there for a night or two, and they need much more time, as you well know, to get into permanent housing. And then we started Bernice's Place, which is our after-school program and summer day camp, when we found out that kids were living in the hotel and couldn't get into the school system. Now the state Supreme Court changed that, but we've continued to work with homeless youth to give them the supports they need so that parents can know that their kids are maintaining their studies even though they're struggling with housing.
So Linda, you said you've been involved for 25 years. It started in 81, which is only 33. So you've seen the agency grow and change and do things. Tell us about some of the growth of the organization.
Well, I guess our newest program, and that's been around for 11 years, is Operation Warm Heart. And that started because we saw the need for actually our roots were the people the single folks living in the train stations. We do work with the county. When we started Operation Warm Heart, we started Code Blue. And then the county stepped in and took it over, saying that, there needed to be an emergency system to help people on really dire nights when it's very bitter cold. In fact, tonight's a Code Blue night.
So, Linda, how do you deal with some folks who just don't want to go to a shelter?
Well, people have a people have a right of self-determination.
Yeah.
We can't make them do something. But have you ever read The Little Prince? And if you read in there, he says the first thing you have to do is become a friend and kind of tame the person. I'm not saying that the people are animals, but that you have to get them to trust you and then eventually kind of guide them into getting the services they really need. Very often they're dealing with mental illness and they're afraid.
Tell us about the event coming up on
Oh, it's
Saturday.
exciting. This is one of my favorite events because it's a real community event. It's really the gathering of all the sectors of our community, business, the public sector, as well as volunteers, to help raise funds and address the need for housing for the homeless.
Now, it's a charity basketball game.
Yes, it is.
Tell us the effort that goes in, because you have a lot of volunteers that help put this together, too.
Oh, yeah, we have volunteers here from Kane. We have volunteers from the different businesses volunteer their workers to come, as well as people from churches and just people from the community who come in and help out. So it's a big effort.
Talk to us about some of the excitement of this year's classics. What's the schedule like? I guess 3:45 are already announced, but tell.
Right, that's the Battle of the Badges,
Yeah.
and so that's a very exciting game.
That's new. This is a new edition.
Yeah, that just started last year.
Right.
And then after that, at 5 o'clock, we have the Patrick School, which will be playing.
You can't get any of these cops and firemen hurt. We need them to work. I mean,
No,
running up and
no.
down the court, I hope you got plenty of water for these guys.
We'll make sure they're well hydrated. And we have first aid there, so I'm sure they'll be fine. But then the Patrick School at 5 o'clock will be playing Newark Tech. And then at 6:45, we have Elizabeth High School playing their rival, Union High School. And then at 8:15, St. Mary's, your alma mater, is going to be playing Fanwood Scotch Plains. So
Well, they played that. That's in the past. It's been a
they
good game.
played that good. Yeah, it's been actually sometimes that's the most exciting game. You never know how it's going to work out. So
And people can come and go, and
people can come to one game or come to all games. It's a real family event, and we've priced it so people can bring their children. Or
what is the pricing?
it's $10 for an adult, $5 for a child. If you have a basketball team, you can bring your basketball team, like youth leagues, or if you have a church group, it's a good thing to go to. It's a lot of fun.
And where do the proceeds go?
All the proceeds go to help the coalition to work with homeless families. So it helps our programs, and it goes right to the families. We make sure that that happens.
Which is interesting in your business, is to the money you get is obviously never enough. So this is a huge fundraiser for you.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And the program, when you talk about it, it helps families. The families don't know where it comes from, does it? I mean,
No, they don't. They
Yeah.
don't. And because it's complicated, because as you well know, we get grants from the government, we get some private money, and then we fill the gap with a large gap with fundraising. So we work very hard to make that difference. They know that we're working and putting all our efforts to helping them become self-sufficient.
so Linda, tell us other entertainment other than the games themselves. I mean,
Well, this
no
year
fights in the stands or anything like that.
No, not that,
only
because it's
kidding.
not a hockey game.
Yeah.
So what we'll be doing is having Harold Boyd, who is an nationally acclaimed gospel singer, is going to open with the national anthem for us this year. And then we have our Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts are going to do a flag ceremony, and investors are going to be presenting us with a check. Plus, this year we have a DJ, so we're kind of excited about that as well.
Oh, that's good. And the attendance at these games, it depends on sometimes the quality of the game.
Sometimes it does, but I think if people look at it as a fun
And the
night
weather,
out,
right?
The weather, but it's a fun night out, and it's a good, we're all looking for something to do that's affordable, especially with families nowadays.
Because of my schedule, I don't get to watch a lot of basketball games, but I
No.
always stay here at this event. I get to watch all these three teams play.
Right, you kind of get all
I
your...
kind of get them all at one shot.
Exactly.
I get
Well, we
St.
arrange
Pat's
it
or the
that
Patrick
way.
School. I get St. Mary's, my alma mater, and then I get Elizabeth High.
High School.
And it's always nice when all three Elizabeth teams
Yeah,
win.
and everybody's there helping and making it a fun night. The Interact Club from Elizabeth High, a lot of those kids come and help out. You know what? It's very inspiring to see young people get involved and do something positive too.
Do you sell the snacks or anything like that? Or is there pizza? Is there soda?
There's
What-
pizza. In fact, several pizzerias donate pizza, so we sell that. This year, some of the restaurants are donating empanadas, so that's our new feature this year. And
It's one of my
we have hot dogs and soda, the usual chips and candy. So there's lots for people to get, and all of it's donated. So those proceeds also are going to the coalition. So we're
So
very
Linda,
grateful.
in the work that you do, sometimes it can be very gratifying because you actually can get people
Mm-hmm.
possible permanent housing, and then also you work through agencies for job training and try to get somebody something.
Right, we work, St. Joseph's has a job program, so we work with them, and they help give people some work. But it is very gratifying. Some of the families have become my friends. Just very good people who've had tough times, and it's great to see them move out and move on and go on living positive lives, and they stay in touch. So that's
So
nice.
if anybody wants to come to the game or contact you, how would they go about doing that?
Well, the best way is really to go to our website, theelizabethcoalition.org, or they can give us a call, 908-355-2060, extension 206, and they ask for Renee, and she can get them
Give us
directed.
the rundown one more time before we wrap it up.
All right, first game is at 3:45. That's the Battle of the Badges. Then at 5 o'clock, we have the Patrick School playing Newark Tech. And then at 6:45, we have Elizabeth High School play Union. And then again at 8:15, we have St. Mary's play Fanwood Scotch Plains. Exciting lineup and a great time.
Linda, I want to thank you for joining us.
Oh, my pleasure.
Look forward to seeing you at the games.
Yep, we'll see you then. Thank you.
Please join the coalition on Saturday at the Dunn Sports Center for some great basketball and helping a great cause. Please stay with us after these messages. We'll be back with the new councilman of the 3rd Ward, Councilman Kevin Canary. Back to our city. For the second half of this evening's show, I am pleased to be joined by the new councilman of the 3rd Ward, Councilman Kevin Canary. Councilman, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So first of all, let me congratulate you publicly, as I have in the past, on winning a great election.
Thank you.
And how do you feel about that victory? You worked hard.
I would say humbled would be the best word to describe it. To see the previous elections be so close and me as a newcomer win by the margin I did win is very humbling. The people that supported me.
500 votes, right? It was
2
to 1 just about. So I remember when I called you that night to say that you win, you were taking a shower, you were getting ready, you were so relaxed and expecting the whatever you were expecting. What did you think after the campaign going into the that evening at 8 o'clock?
Well, I had to get prepared because during the day was running from poll to poll to poll, making sure the people had refreshments and sandwiches and checking on the count and making sure I was visible at the polls. So it was time to relax before the evening started.
So, Councilman, tell us about yourself. I mean, you're an Elizabeth kid, born and raised and worked here. So give us a little background.
Well, like you said, I'm born and raised, still reside here. My parents, my mom was from, and dad from Elizabeth. My mom worked at the Elizabeth General, and my father worked down at Thomas and Betts. So it's their hard work and dedication and their family values that kept me in Elizabeth. It's something I feel strongly
You
about.
got some brothers and sisters as well, right? You're not the only one.
3 brothers and 2 sisters, but the only one that still resides in the city of Elizabeth.
Where do you fit in the food chain?
I was number 4.
You were number 4.
A sister on each end.
A sister on each end?
Yeah.
So you also eventually became a member of our police department and rose through the ranks. So tell us about that career.
I started my career in September of '83, and in January of '96 I was promoted to sergeant. And during those years I was in the radio room, the communication center. I was also in community policing, and I was also the sergeant in narcotics. And then my last assignment before retiring was the traffic division.
Has police work changed in the 30 years that you were a police officer?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's changed on many levels. More community involvement, the technology that you and the police director provide to do a better job, because it's evolved tremendously.
And but it's also still get to know the people in the neighborhood.
Absolutely. Community policing is key. It's almost like being a politician going door to door. You need to know who the people are that are backing you, who give you the what needs to be done in a community. And when you're out there walking, when I used to walk the patrols in the UEZs, the business owners get to know you, and then the people get to see you. So the interaction, it gives them a sense of ease that the police officers that are out there.
Yeah, the Urban Enterprise Zone Walking Patrol probably prepared you somewhat for campaigning.
Yes, it has. a lot of people, and not just in the 3rd Ward. I've walked pretty much all the posts that were out there. So the city is diverse as well as the 3rd Ward. So it did give me an edge because people did have some facial recognition as to who I was.
Now, when Councilman Joe Keenan decided that he was not going to run, that was decided probably a year or two ago. He made it clear that this was going to be his last term. How did your thought process evolve into saying, hey, I've got 30 years on the police department? How did you get to the point of, I'm going to run?
Well, once I heard Joe Keenan say he wasn't going to run again, I had my time at the police department. I finished up with a little over 31 years, and it was time to give back to the community that gave me, everything that I had over 31 years. So it was time to give back.
And so you decided to run for the city council.
Yes.
And the process of meeting people for the first time and saying hello and offering, I know when I first did it, it's a challenge. How did you adjust to doing all of that?
I think the biggest challenge was going door to door and meeting people a lot of people for the first time. Being that the third ward is as large as it is, and it's primarily residential, and some of the other wards, they have the industry, so we're packed and it's diverse. My wife was there with me, so whatever I couldn't say in Spanish, Millie would be there, and she would help me out, and as well as many other people that help and volunteer going door to door.
So it's only been a short time. You've been on council about a month now, and I'm just curious to know, what do you think of this thing? The meetings. What do you think of the process? How do you warm up to it?
Well, it's some of it I was prepared for by going to meetings as a police officer, so I knew some of what goes on, but it's definitely a learning process.
And how has the interaction moved to residents? I mean, you won the election way back in June, so there was probably a period where, but now you're got to interact with the residents as a councilman.
Now that January 1st is here and gone, you try to make as many events as possible so you can interact with people that you didn't get to meet during that process in the primary and then the general election.
Well, you were at the groundbreaking of the announcement of the new train station last week as well. Your thoughts on that, being a police officer who's worked the city, office, time, are we ready?
We're definitely ready to, and it's been a long time coming. But like with any other project in that magnitude of $55 million, it takes time, it takes funding to get everybody on the same page. And with your leadership, it's been there. You're always fighting for the city of Elizabeth and the residents. But also, as you well know, the infrastructure has to be there in order for the rest of the city or Midtown to develop. You have to have that first.
So Councilman, the third ward, anything you'd like to see improved, and what are your goals? Is it community policing translated into community activist? Councilman, how do you do things?
Well, so far we have two third ward block watch meetings, and I'm looking to add a third. We have one on Stiles Street, and we also have one at the Moore Library. I have some volunteers that are looking to go back to the Racquet Club as well. So the community and the residents, they're the ones that are going to tell me what I need to do to get my job done.
Yeah, it was always interesting to go to neighborhood meetings and see the residents come up and say, hey, Councilman, can you get this pothole filled? And if they tell you, it gets easier.
Well, along with that, with me being in the police department for as long as I was, I got to know the directors, so it's a little bit easier, so they know me, and just to get certain things done that might seem small as a pothole, but it's a major concern for the resident, as well as getting back to them in a short period of time. So they want someone that's out there and that's approachable and attainable to get what they need done.
So, Councilman, in your efforts in the third ward and city council, it's an interesting dynamic because you also have a major thoroughfare on Westfield Avenue, which is a state road. We haven't had to deal with snow yet, so that's probably a good thing because, but snow plowing is important.
Yes, absolutely. The city does a great job. Sometimes we have to deal with the state with the roads, but they've always come through and did a very good job up in the Third Ward.
So, Councilman, if people need to get a hold of you, is the office, and how do they get a hold of you?
They can reach me at 510-1195 or at kininery@aol.com.
So, Councilman, I want to thank you for taking the time to join us on the show this evening. And I wish you well in your career as a member of the City Council and representing the Third Ward.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Councilman. For Councilman Kevin Canary and for Linda Flores-Tober, the beginning of this show, I'm Chris Bolwage. We'll see you next week on another edition of Our City.
Why do we like it here? Let's just say the reasons are diverse. Kane University.